Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to talk to you about a problem that I have. And that problem is that I, for some reason, just cannot read a book if it is in mass market paperback form. This has happened a couple of times with a couple of different books where I pick up the book and for some reason either the library only has the mass market paperback or it was given to me that way, or a friend let me borrow it. And I just can't read them. It doesn't matter how good the story is. It's just, I just can't get into them. Like, sometimes I'll finish them, but I won't actually, enjoy them. And that has never been truer because I have the mass market paperback of this book, and it wasn't until I switched to the audiobook that I realized that this book is the GOAT. This is probably Sanderson's best magic system. It's definitely the easiest to get into. My favorite Cosmere book is always the book I just finished. Let's get into this book. This magic system, like I just said, is the best. It's so colorful, it's so cool, it's intriguing. Okay, one thing I really liked and enjoyed about this book was the fact that the girls, swapped roles. Vivenna starts out the book the poised, perfect little princess, and Siri is the girl that just does whatever she wants, whenever she wants, and doesn't care about anything. Siri, at the beginning of the book, would have fallen for the morally gray, shadow daddy type that Vasher definitely is. But even though, there's no, as of right now, romantic interest between the two of them, I think it's implied. Siri, at the beginning of the book, felt useless, and now she's probably the most important person in the world. She, stopped everything from going down. And Vivenna is the useless one right now until she figures out how to work her magic system. Oh my gosh, it's so good. Okay, this is gonna be spoilers. It's crazy. So be prepared. I think that Nightblood is better than the Spren. I think he is maybe a Spren, he's a cognitive something. I still don't understand all the Cosmere stuff. When I was reading Yumi and the Nightmare Painter, I was so confused by a lot of the Cosmere language. I don't know what a cognitive shadow is. That sounds very Stormlight to me, and I'm only 2 books in. So I'm a little confused, but we're getting there. I need Nightblood and Vasher's origin story, please. Not not Vasher before he got returned, but after he got returned. How did he leave the Court of Gods, and what was he like there? But all about the men he wore. I want to know about Vasher's first love interest. I want to know all these things. I need to know all these things. Vivenna and Siri's dad, I think he gets, no, Ellen's dad is the worst dad in the Cosmere. But, a Dandelion, or whatever his name is the worst. Second worst in the Cosmere. Let's continue. One really cool thing that I noticed is at the very end, because I was wondering, the story is called Warbreaker, but we didn't get that reason why it's called, Warbreaker until I think it was the epilogue. And one thing that I thought was so cool about it is that Warbreaker and Peacegiver mean the same thing. I just thought that was, such an interesting touch, because you wouldn't know that they were the same person until it's mentioned. And I just thought that was so cool. Peacegiver, Warbreaker. I just thought that was really cool. Vivenna's growth in the entire story was amazing. Even though Siri probably, is the main character in a way, I think Vivenna has the most like impactful storyline, even though Ciri like did more in the story. Vivenna's growth is just amazing in this whole book. She was the princess. She was the one in control of herself. She was ready to do whatever was necessary to protect her kingdom. And by the end of the book, that's Ciri. Ciri has just completely taken over the role that Vivenna had at the beginning of the book. And yet there's no animosity between the two of them. And they both have grown into these new people and who they really were always meant to be. It's just so good. I loved Ciri's growth with Sesebron. I loved how she was able to realize what was going on and yet still was like very naive. One thing about Brandon Sanderson that I will say, a lot of his romances tend to be a little bit cringe in some ways. But you don't read Sanderson for the romance. You read Sanderson for the magic and the epic moments. And this book had a lot of both of those. But one thing I did like about Ciri and Sesebron was their relationship dynamic. They were both two like young, naive children who grew together. It was amazing. Yes, some of it was a little cringe, but it's okay. They were just two young, dumb kids. I totally trusted Bluefingers. Ciri is so much smarter than me because I would have just gone with him blindly at the end. Although I will say that after like Dent's betrayal, Bluefinger's betrayal, I was waiting for Sesebron to be like, haha, I was playing you all along. I'm thankful that that didn't happen because, you know, now we get like Ciri and Sesebron ruling together and Vivenna off on her own thing with Vasher. I was totally waiting for him to just be the bad guy and to just be like, we'll let those, what were they, those returned soldiers, we'll just let them go and defeat that other country and then I can just rule both countries. I was waiting for that and I'm so happy that it didn't happen. I also thought that like Dent's team was going to be like Mistborn, the Final Empire was, where it was these rebels fighting for like a greater good and doing good things, maybe a little bit for the money, but also because it's the right thing to do, but also maybe for the money. And I was wrong. Because this was, I think, was this like Sanderson's third or fourth book that he published? I don't know. But I was like, because it's one of his earlier books, I was expecting it to be more of the kind of like Elantris and Mistborn is, where the main character is a little bit more of a good person. And I was like very surprised and I loved it how, yeah, like Ciri and Vivenna are good people, but like Vivenna especially has so many prejudices. I loved her arc, like overcoming her prejudices and also like not being prejudiced enough, but like with the mercenaries, she could have used her brain a little bit more. I mean, I'm judging her, but like I didn't even see that coming, so who am I to judge? Lightsong was the goat of the entire book. He is so funny. I loved how like he used like his crookiness to his advantage, and so many people, including the priests, just overlooked what he was doing just because, oh, it's just Lightsong, he's just an idiot. It's so good. I do feel bad for his brother / like high priest. I feel so bad for him having to watch Lightsong die twice, even though both times was very heroic. I feel so bad for him. Lightsong did also remind me a lot of the person in Frugal Wizard's Handbook for Surviving Medieval England. He reminded me a lot of the dude in Frugal Wizard. Because they both woke up with no memories of who they were before, and both thought that like they were this cool Avenger, vigilante type person. And Light Song tried to like grab the sword from the guy and try to fight him. And then he's in the cell and he's like, I still don't know why my sword fighting skills didn't come back to me. That was so funny. Is he thought that he was like this big important person, and come to find out he wasn't. But I think that goes to show that like both of those people, Frugal Wizard and Light Song, they wanted to be more than who they were, and at their soul they were good people who maybe just had a bad hand in life. And I just thought that was really cool, like the parallels between the two of them. I liked how in the end Light Song really did live up to his name. And it also like brings us back to, forward, I guess, to the end of the novel when Vasher is like, I don't know if I do my best to like live up to my name because I want to, or because like I'm predestined to, because like that's his name as a returned. Whereas Light Song the Bold, the Brave, and the end he was Light Song the Bold, Light Song the Brave. And his sacrifice to Sesesbron saved the entire world. Because without that, the priests would have won, Blue Fingers would have won, and the world would have ended in chaos. It would have been a good start for like a trilogy, but not very good for a one-off novel. Blush Reaver's death was not expected. That blew me away. It was good, but I was not expecting that, and I felt so bad for Light Song. I also loved how neither one of the girls really cared about their dad unless they needed help. The only time that their dad is actually mentioned is when they're like, oh no, how do I stop the war? Oh, Dad we'll send letters to Dad, or Dad will help, or Dad will understand. But like in their day-to-day life, like they thought more about each other than they did about their father, which goes to show how bad of a parent he was. Also, Brandon Sanderson for like Warbreaker number 2, Ciri and Sesesbron can have kids because like they're descended from the child of a returned. So just so you know, although I am so glad that you didn't put the pregnancy trope in this book, book number 2 they can have children. I won't mind. You let them have a couple of years by themselves. And then remember that. If that book ever does come out. Also, let's talk about Denth. Denth is related to them somehow because his hair changes colors, so that in Vasher tells Nightblood that means that they're descended from a returned. Right? This whole book, I'm just in awe. It was so good, so amazing. And I would have just like missed so much of it if I had just tried to keep reading it with the mass market paperback. Like, do you guys have problems reading like certain types of media? Like, I get it. Like, some books are better like audiobooks. Like, I would say if you're reading the Dresden Files, you need to read the audiobook. But even the physical book, like, I read it like normal paperback style, and it was fine. Like, the audiobook was better, but it was still fine. I don't know what it is about mass market paperbacks. I just cannot read them. Do you guys have that issue? And also, tell me your thoughts about Warbreaker down below. Thanks, guys.